We're going to record this as a live Silicon Heartland Sessions podcast episode. This is something brand new that we're doing. We're taking a big risk here. This is going to be fun. I promise you it's going to go fast. Before we do any sort of recording and so forth, I always like to give some heads up in terms of kind of what we're going to be talking about. Obviously, we're going to cover a little bit of ground that you covered with Ben. That's okay. The plan was to talk about AI in the enterprise a bit, talk about AI in the startup world a little bit, and then compare and contrast a little bit and see if there's something we can learn from each other. And then all these great questions came in. And I realized that we have a unique opportunity to talk about the future with the next generation in this room and give them some advice on how they should be thinking about their careers in the world of AI. So I think we're going to start there. We'll definitely do the other topics. We're only going to have like 30 minutes. And like I said, I promise you it's going to go fast. And I know everybody wants to get to happy hour as well. I apologize to everybody sitting behind me. I know my back is to you. I thought it was more important to be sitting here and kind of having a roundtable conversation. So I apologize in advance. So welcome everyone. First, before I start too, I want to hear some applause from the audience as well. This is a live episode here. Yes. So welcome everyone to a very special live recording of Silicon Heartland Sessions. We're coming to you live from Cloud Nirvana Columbus. So let's hear it, Columbus. One more round of applause. Yes. So this isn't just any session. We're closing out today with something bold and different. We've brought together an incredible mix of voices from both the enterprise world and the startup trenches to explore one of the most important topics in tech today. How is AI transforming the software development lifecycle? And I'll tell you now, this is not a panel of theory. These folks are building it, scaling it, and living it every day. So let me introduce our amazing panelists really quickly. From the enterprise side, we have Jay Schumacher, enterprise architect at Honda, Justin Wilkins, field CTO at Varonis. And from the startup side, we have Nate Lusher, founder of Renew Work, Tushar Kulkarni, CEO and founder of Big Kitty Labs, Nilanjan Ray Chowdhury, founder of Tublian, and Ray Bohak, CEO and co-founder of Spearfish. So together we're going to unpack where AI is delivering real value, how philosophies diverge between orgs and startups, and what that means for all of us building this in this AI-powered era. So let's get into it. Now, this is an interesting time. We're in this wonderful conference with all these wonderful people. Earlier today, we had all of the students in the audience stand up, and there's a lot of students here. Can we hear from the students real quick? How many students do we have in the audience? Go ahead and clap for them. Yes. Okay. So those of you who attend Cloud Nirvana, you all know we encourage folks to ask questions. Now, there was a really, really important question that was asked, and I want to pose this to the panel first. How is AI impacting your talent pipeline? And how does a student upskill in this environment since they won't have the luxury of coding for years to learn and grow?
Should I go?
Please.
Okay. So, well, Sean, thanks. And thanks again, everybody, for attending. So this is a great topic. So ours is a software company. We work with quite a few companies in the tech ecosystem. Some are starting out, some are small businesses, some are enterprises, but we are very popular in the startup ecosystem. Let's say we have like 100 engineers on the team. And one of the things I'm seeing that folks that are from my generation, there's a little bit of resistance in adopting AI. It's kind of funny that like actually some of the smartest coders I'm running into, they're still, I wouldn't say they're in denial, but they keep thinking that, well, what's the use? Because you're gonna throw away some of that code as you build it anyway, or you're going to. So that is one place where I think younger generation can latch onto because they don't have those biases, because they're getting new into it, and your minds are a bit more open. You're open to newer tools, and as somebody said earlier, Nate or like Ray, or there's like so many different new things that are coming up that my mind is totally saturated. I have no idea like which tool to pick, but you have that leverage. So tap into it. And there is I meet so many people like every week. And I'm realizing that a bunch of us, we're the lucky ones because we are in the know. But there's a whole another like segment of people that are wanting to learn, and that is your opportunity. So going out there and approaching, like, say, municipalities or government side or other areas where you can easily get in. You don't have to be the sharpest coder anymore. You just have to understand the problem and talk to people. And I think that's the one huge advantage younger generation has over somebody who has been doing it for decades.
Right. Well said. Go ahead, Ray.
Yeah. So I was just kind of thinking through people that I've hired, worked with over the years, and what stood out to me. And in the startup ecosystem, at least, speed is key, right? And so team members that would spend too much time on infrastructure before even proving product market fit or customer value, we spent way too much time in the wrong areas. And so as I think about uh, hiring going forward here, I care less about code syntax and those types of things. I care more about the person's ability to actually understand the objective and the customer and the business problem, and to be able to articulate it, and then be able to actually think on their own to come up with different strategies to achieve their problem, use AI to prototype it and go. And frankly, if I don't see, I want to know that the people who understand the latest AI technologies. Are you using Claude 4? Are you using Windsurf? Are you, is that part of your normal tool system, or are you just dabbling? If you're just dabbling, it's not good enough. You need to actually be a composer, if you will, with these tools these days, especially in the startup side of things. Speed is key. So I would think that's probably an area to focus, is really understand the business. You want to stand out, and the way that you stand out is being able to actually take the idea, take on the objective, and then show value back pretty quickly to get feedback.
Yeah, yeah. I hear what you're saying. I worry that perhaps your perspective is influenced by years and years of experience that you have. And where the rubber meets the road, in my mind, and maybe this is an opportunity for us to direct the conversation more towards the enterprise. What are the skills that these folks need to have in this world, to be able to compete and land that first job or land that promotion?
Speaking from the enterprise, Ray, I agree with you 100%. If they are not able to learn and adapt quickly, then that's not the person that I'm going to hire. And I'm a hiring manager. I am much more interested in somebody that has critical thinking skills, that can break a problem down into small solvable pieces. That is much more important than somebody that can write code in a couple hours using within a single language.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care about that. Critical thinking that's it. I stop after that.
Go ahead.
I agree with everything that you guys said so far. I mean, but the reality is it's super hard. I feel like I was fortunate enough to, when I was learning programming, I was telling somebody there already, I got stuck and I had to figure out how to solve that problem. And the companies I used to work for, they give me that opportunity and time to go through it. I don't think this generation is getting that time.
Mm-hmm.
The companies are expecting a lot because the competition is very high. That's a reality. So I have two strategies for all the guys here and gals. Is make sure you're passionate about this field. If you're not, this is probably not the right thing. You have to, because that's going to eventually differentiate what Ray and I was talking about. And second thing is that you should be spending considerable amount of time at the edge cases of where these models fail. So getting really good at prompting. Ray talked about some of the insights. Those going to be super skills. I mean, learning how to code JavaScript is not a skill anymore. But how to instruct LLM to do that is a skill. So it's constantly evolving. So figure that space out. I think that's important.
Justin, did you want to jump in?
Yeah, and to be candid, I'm hiring a completely different profile than a lot of the folks. So I'm primarily hiring solutions architects, technical account managers, and those types of resources. And for me, when I look at a candidate, I'm less focused on what they know today, because I think with these AI solutions, right, they can learn the technical skills that are required to do the job. I'm more focused on the intangibles, the human characteristics. Do they take full ownership over their successes and failures? Can they drive the outcomes, right? Do they respond quickly, right? Do they provide good customer service? And what I've found, especially with the newer generation, is that these skills are becoming less and less common. People are becoming more and more aligned in those technical skills, but those human skills, those intangibles, right? Is this somebody that is going to take ownership, is competitive? Are they going to do the right thing? Do they have empathy?
Mhm.
All those things to me are even more important because I can't really teach those. I can't really teach somebody to fully own a task, but I can teach somebody the technical skills to do the job. So
Right.
for me, I think especially now, those those intangibles, it's very easy to stick out in that way. Am I following up on the interview? Am I asking good questions? Am I really curious? Those things are all really important, and that's really what I focus on.
Yeah, I guess my worry is that it takes time to build those kinds of skills. It takes time to. I mean, during the startup panel earlier today, I think somebody, maybe it was Tushar, you made the comment that, hey, become an entrepreneur, and that's interesting. That's a great idea for some folks, but not everybody's wired that way. Not everybody's wired, and a lot of these concepts around empathy and higher level thinking and strategic thinking and so forth. They're generally born out of years of experience. And it takes time to get there. And so folks who are in the audience who are early on in their careers, the question for them is, well, how do I get that first step? How do I get that first opportunity so that I can start building those skills? And I wonder, so with that as a context, and I want to keep on talking about this one particular topic through the whole episode. But I do want this to kind of be a thread as we go, as we kind of progress here. So let's talk a bit about the startup world. And the thing is this: startups are often the very first to experiment, to pivot, and adapt and adopt new technologies. With AI transforming how we build software, startups are giving us an early look at what's possible when you move fast and think differently. So let's explore for a bit how AI is impacting speed, creativity, collaboration, and delivery in environments where every decision counts and every resource is precious. So, question. AI is touching every part of the SDLC. I know it's really easy for us. We generally come from the software development world, and we tend to hyper focus on the software development task and the coding and so forth. But let's kind of broaden our view for the entire, and think about the entire software development lifecycle, and in particular, those areas in the software development lifecycle that really require human touch. Things like understanding the business requirements, empathizing with your end users, creating customer experiences that are really impactful. I'm not sure that those things can be, or that we want them to be, automated via artificial intelligence. So here's the question. AI is touching every part of the SDLC, but where are you personally seeing the fastest and most meaningful impact right now in your organization or work, and what is missing?
So one of the in our organization or in general?
Just in your organization or in general.
So
yeah.
one of the areas where I'm seeing more and more applications coming out, and where we are where it's pretty natural, is by definition natural language processing. So all of these models are so good at document processing or like anything that involves. So for example, we're working with some insurance companies and they have a ton of regulations. So areas where there's you have to constantly spend hours and hours, like could be legal arena or insurance, or all of the areas where there's a lot of human hours invested every day in understanding, going through ton of paperwork. Those are the areas that are such a low hanging fruit. They're getting streamlined like rapidly.
Mhm.
And we're also starting to work on quite a few products now where we are doing voice analysis. So those are the areas. Like, I cannot divulge a whole lot, but there are certain areas where there could be like thousands of hours of audio you have to manually sift through and stuff. So those are the areas where you can start using these tools now, where that can just suddenly give you, and those are the applications that are like you can apply some of these tools with so much more accuracy now.
Mhm.
So we've been doing AI since 2011. I was doing like natural language processing in 2011 because we were at a personal level. So our company's name is Big Kitty Labs, and Labs is because we were tinkerers. We were constantly launching products, and one of the problems I've been trying to solve for over a decade is problem of information overload. But now we're at a point where we're starting to, like, look at Notebook LM. Like, it's just amazing, like the things that you can do now. So those are the areas where I'm seeing quite a few solutions coming up.
Yeah.
Again, like education is another area where that is also, because now you don't need, for many professions, you can actually quickly use AI as a tutor. So that is another area where we're doing quite a few applications. So needless to say, everything is getting disrupted, but those two I'm seeing over and over again.
Well said.
Yeah, I think maybe to build on that, I think the first layer that I see impact or adoption is at the individual workflow levels. Like people are just using AI to do the stuff that they don't like to do. That's not very fun. And in the startup world, I think the difference, I get to work in both worlds actually. And in the startup world, the difference is there are usually not a lot of restrictions on which tools they can use. And so they can use the best ones, and they're advancing so fast that the difference between one that somebody in a startup could use tomorrow versus the one that somebody in an enterprise could use 6 months from now is like a generation of capability. So you see that difference. Then I think the next layer up is at the function level. So you'll see like developers, product managers starting to get a sense of like how would that function use it, and but it's the same pattern where if you're at a startup, you're going to use whatever's coolest today that got released last week. And if you're at an enterprise, you're going to wait for your IT department to let you use something. And usually you're going to be blocked off to something just like Copilot or something.
Right.
And it puts a lot of barriers in front of people in an enterprise that wouldn't need to be there. And it prevents the learning of even how to use it. So I think they're falling further behind as well.
Yeah. Nate, from a product lens perspective, how do you see AI changing the way that we define requirements and prioritize features? Is there a role for AI, or is that an area that is more ripe for human skills and
For sure. But I think what you said earlier is actually really important. Like the human element that we bring, the value we bring is in the ability to empathize with the user, to understand what their problem might really be or where the value might be. But when it comes to like what we decide to build or how we decide to build it, AI lets us prototype really, really fast and test with real users and real stakeholders really, really fast.
Right.
Without coders in the mix, right? And that doesn't mean you shouldn't involve them, because they can definitely help you with what's possible.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to like, I don't need a development team to build a prototype for 6 weeks before I can test it with the user. I can test it in an hour with no coding ability. It lets you test ideas so much faster. You don't have to build a lot of really bad ideas.
Right.
And I think that's where we see it happening the most right now.
Well, and I think it makes a lot of sense, leveraging AI from a prototyping perspective. If you've got a great idea and you want to get that idea into the hands of an end user as quickly as possible without, to your point, spending 6 months and X number of dollars, building out a production ready system, AI is a great way to go. It's a cheap way to surface those ideas. I wonder though, in the enterprise, Jay, when we were talking about your perspective of artificial intelligence at Honda, you talked a lot about all the different tools you guys are using and so forth. I was actually very, very, very impressed. But again, a lot of your narrative was, you talked a lot about sort of some of the complexities of the enterprise, the unique complexities of the enterprise. Things like, we have millions of lines of mainframe code running. What are we going to do with that stuff? So there are realities there. And I wonder if this concept of prototypes and so forth, how that fits in the enterprise world. Does the enterprise see the value in those kinds of endeavors, or is the enterprise more focused on driving real value, legacy modernization, transformation, not to mention security, et cetera?
I want to say we want to do all of that. I think foundationally, the biggest difference between an enterprise and startup is the appetite for risk, typically. I mean, Honda is not going to go, hey, let's move fast and break things. It's not going to happen. But startups have that flexibility. They're, as you said, able to take advantage of the latest and greatest, because when it's small and you maybe don't have anything to lose from a data loss perspective. I did want to point out, as I said earlier, we purposely did not block our users from accessing anything. Now, that's a risk that we took on, and we've been bit a few times, but that's just a part of trying to get everybody to whatever's next, right? But at some point, we have to bring them back to something that's scalable and, put some guardrails in place. But I think there's a place for vibe coding. I think that's on the business side. So IT, we are focused on operational recovery, speed, keeping things up and running 24/7, 365. Modernizing legacy framework, sure, that's the IT side, but from a business aspect perspective, they could care less.
Mhm.
They want the business value, which is it's always up, it's always running, there's no downtime. But then next step is how do I get the business to engage the customers better? So those, the talk shops, the think tanks, the meeting with my customers and seeing how they're really feeling, the ability to mock up ideas to demonstrate, that's the value that the business is going to see to be able to iterate quickly.
Mhm.
And that's where they're starting to dabble. But they're not doing that, unfortunately, leveraging IT. They're leveraging third parties that have the ability to move fast. And that's our struggle right now is we don't necessarily have the ability to move fast. Third parties do, like startups. It's a balance.
Yeah, well said. Well said. When we talk about artificial intelligence, in particular within the software development lifecycle, in my opinion, we overemphasize the importance of efficiency and quick outcomes. I think that's a really, really important part of the equation. But I wonder if there's a bit of an elephant in the room, because I wonder, and you can tell me if I'll just throw this out there, you can react to it. Does that speed, does it result in an end result that is less of a quality product that we would have otherwise? How do you make sure that at the end of the day, we're getting the right balance from a speed to market perspective? And, we're getting not just the right quality, but enterprise grade solutions. What role does AI play? And, obviously there's a really important intersection here between where humans need to be, I know that the term is in the loop, but the humans really need to be in charge. Yesterday when we were in Cleveland, we had this really great conversation about some of the tools and so forth that these companies are using from an AI perspective. And one of the audience members brought up this idea that when you're developing software, production level software, there's something to be said for the design, the application architecture that should reflect your values as a company, your risk posture as a company. Just to give you an example, leveraging like object-oriented programming languages. Generally, you'll build systems using an object-oriented programming language so that you can achieve some level of extensibility in your application architecture, and that requires you to think about the way in which your application will potentially need to be extended into the future. I'm not sure that can be, automated through artificial intelligence, but there's definitely a role there for humans to play. I'm just wondering, how do you see that artificial intelligence and the human side of the endeavor of software development, kind of balancing out?
This, I think this is a very important piece to what we have coming up. I've been involved from startup phase to growing a company to enterprise level software globally, right? And so I've seen the cycles of iteration that are required, at least in the past. And one of the challenges is as you scale and as you think about data security and you think about governance and compliance, that's a different factor than just vibe coding, right? But just recently, with some of the newer models, as we're building out things, we're able to start to say, evaluate this function. And if we have this level of concurrency of use with this many users, where is it going to break down? One yesterday on basically an analytics report, I said, hey, if we have 1,000 employees or 10,000 employees, how does this function perform? And it said, oh, wait a minute, you've got an N+1 database problem here. It will never perform. And here's the fix. Here's the new query. And here's the changes that you should make to your indices. Those are things that we used to have a team for in the past, right? That DBA would actually evaluate the slow query log and find these things in hindsight in production. Well, now we're finding them ahead of production. Another use case, say you're loading JSON into a function, but for some reason you get these random breaks. I've been able to take it and say, hey, given this data set, why is this breaking down randomly? And it would find the most obscure bug that would take me hours of iteration and hitting breakpoints and looking at stack trace, all that stuff, right? I said, oh no, here's your thing. It's this. And oh, by the way, I found 3 other instances of it in the code base while I'm at it, right? Do you want me to do something about it? And last point I'll make is I've found myself changing from build this thing to think deeply and make a plan about the thing that I'm trying to build, and give me some options and some strategies and the pros and cons of each. And let's iterate on that first. And it'll actually build its own requirements. And then I'll often say, okay, write that to a markdown file for me. So I have that. And then create a branch, do the thing, right? And a key point in that, if you're a developer, is commit often. That way you can just roll back, throw away code, right? And then iterate again with that markdown file that you have that logs everything, right? And so
Right.
I think the capability to build and test and improve enterprise grade is going to be increased significantly with this.
There is another aspect on top of that is AI is empowering us to do is that I'm going after a much harder problem to solve right now.
Mhm.
That I would have never imagined doing that without any of these tools, because the abstraction level gone such higher now that I can go after, oh, that seems like, oh, holy shit, I'm trying to build a marketplace. Like this is one of the hardest thing to do. And I'm thinking that's possible. I can get there because I have all these tools now.
Mhm.
On the flip side, for startups, the user's expectation has gone tremendously high. They expect high quality experience with your applications now, right? They got used to ChatGPTs and other, right? So that's also leveling the overall bar of the softwares that we produce. So I mean, I think it's a good thing for this industry.
Agree.
Just two quick things. One is I know that right now, like we do need human in the loop, even though we need less humans, we do need human in the loop. But that quality, like I myself am seeing, like literally like in last 1.5 years, the quality is just getting better and better.
Mhm.
And it is so funny that like one of my favorite stories, which I have to give credit to Ray from earlier, was Ray actually himself said that he was listening to this was that Anthropic CTO as his interview. So he was asked like, when is the next version coming out after the Claude like 4.0 version came out? And Ray said like he started laughing. He said, we just had like 3.7 version 2 months ago,
Mm.
and 4 is like actually it is drastically better too. So
Yeah,
this thing
you were
is
saying that, right? Yeah.
yeah, and that's why like it's the quality today. It might we do have to vet, we do have to, but overall it's getting better really fast,
Yeah.
really
Agree.
fast. So 2 to 3 more years, and it will be like human level.
Yeah. So for those in the audience and those listening who aren't familiar with the concept of vibe coding, what is vibe coding? And is that a skill that folks should be building? Like, especially the next generation, should they be going home at night and, using vibe coding to build an Airbnb or a Netflix? Are those the skills of the future? And I'm interested to understand in the startup world as well as in the enterprise.
I mean, I think my answer is 100% yes. Everybody should be vibe coding. but the first question you asked is even what is it? And I think that is a fair question because to some people it means opening a tool like Lovable or Bolt and doing zero code and me just saying I'd like an app that does something like this. And that is one definition or one way I think you could say vibe coding happens. Another is a senior engineer is interacting with an agent inside Cursor or something, right? And they might be literally talking to it, or they might be typing stuff in. I would suggest not typing. I would suggest talking. Whole other thread, but once you get the power of just holding down the function key and telling an agent what you want it to do, you'll never go back to typing again. But like I think that's when I hear people say vibe coding, it means one of those two things. But those two things are really different, right? So like an engineer vibe coding who understands how software works, vibe coding in Cursor, building real code and seeing the code and being the human in the middle is a lot different than somebody not knowing anything about coding, talking to something like a Lovable on the front end and saying just like build a thing, right? And we need to recognize that for now there's a difference. And maybe that difference shrinks eventually, but for right now, like you wouldn't expect to launch a production product, I don't think, with something you did with Lovable or Bolt. Unless it was something really small like a game or something, but like no business software is going to be like, do you know what's underneath the covers? Like, no idea.
Right.
Never didn't look at any of the code. They're not going to do that, right?
And that's what I was going to kind of
So,
ask you is, relative to the software application, the stack. Are there areas in the stack, are there layers in the stack that vibe coding might be more relevant? I guess I could see, code living in production that was vibe coded, that might be JavaScript or something like that. But then on the back end, where you've got your APIs and access to enterprise systems and core platforms and so forth, I could see using vibe coding to create code base that can then be worked with from a human, from a professional engineer, to make a production grade. What are your thoughts?
Since I started this fight, I think you said it really well. There's a difference between somebody who doesn't know what they're doing and somebody that actually does. And I think that's critical, because if you'll be able to determine when to do what. And maybe it goes back to that risk level as well. If you don't care about risk, then sure, why not? Spin something up in 5 minutes, throw it in production and walk away. If risk is a problem, then you're going to put a little more due diligence into what you're doing. It all has a place. And I think it's important that we learn how to use the tools responsibly. We promote human in the loop. We want to make sure the human is the one making the final say of what happens, but you still have to understand what you're looking at.
Right. Go ahead.
So where I've found some success with this is if you have a very strong backend API and you handle all of your data security and risk management there, you can vibe code your front end and just iterate really fast, right? Because you move where the risk is. Some of the models seem really good at React, Next.js, Tailwind CSS, those types of things. And honestly, you'll probably see a lot of applications that really look the same because of that now, right? But it's very good on the front end. On the back end, definitely still need to know what you're doing, right? But for the planning phase, it's amazing.
But there's one thread I want to pull out of this, what he said. I know we keep saying that, but there is lots of technical challenges in there that, we vibe code, but let's review that code. But it could be 1,000 lines of code, right? It generates. So we still missing lots of important tools there that can audit this code, because we haven't figured out the transition very well. There's a huge consulting opportunity coming up, guys. You guys going to get asked to fix vibe codes. There's a huge opportunity coming up, because lots of this crap is going to get produced and they want to scale. And there is this challenge of this reviewing this, auditing this code, right? I'm sure startups are working on fixing that problem, but that's a challenge.
So I listen to, so I get pitched on an average 3 concepts a day from last 1.5 years. People send me code bases. They say, this is almost done, and we just need your developers to just finish the last part. I actually fell for that first time that happened. Yeah, it was like somebody wanted to, I cannot make this up. Somebody wanted to build Twitch, and there was like bunch of zip files. I'm like, what are they sending to me? I thought maybe, many times people have like arguments with their developers. So I thought maybe they had a falling out. And I was like, wow, this is like bunch of like this and a G, like a G Drive link. I said, yeah, like everything is done. We just need a little bit of help. Can you just help us like finish it and host it? I was like, well, maybe there is something there. So I was like, okay, let's go through it. So I opened, I was like, I don't have time. So I sent it to a team. They said, did you know that this guy totally vibe coded that entire thing? And this is happening a lot. So you have something there. That would be a great job. That'd be
Okay, I tell you what, we probably need to wrap it up. I think we've got happy hour waiting for us. So just one more thing. In one sentence or 2 sentences, really quickly, what's one piece of advice each of us would give to the community, and in particular, the next generation, in this new world of artificial intelligence? And I'll go first. My bit of advice is keep on valuing the human connection. Keep on coming to events like Cloud Nirvana and find mentors. To me, that's the most important thing.
So it's a hard one, right? Because AI can do so many things. I think your creativity, critical thinking, and passion for solving problems going to be more important than anything else.
Jay?
If you really want to use AI, you have to use it every single day. And you have to practice every single day using AI.
Sure.
Yeah. And mine is that we just, all of us will have to learn to adapt a lot. And because every day you'll have to kind of extrapolate on what you said, we'll have to, because not just technical level or any other level, it's just even career level, I think, because the entry barriers are getting smaller and smaller. So we'll probably have to just keep on figuring out what things to adopt next.
Well said.
I agree with the people side of things. I mean, that's withstood the test of time. But other than that, I would say don't be afraid to use the tools to help you learn. Don't be afraid to say, I have this challenge, help me overcome it.
Yeah, and I'd say don't buy into the hype of the doom and gloom, even if it could be real. Look for like engaging with AI in a way that believing it's going to help you do something incredible.
Nice. Thank you, Nate. Well, I'll tell you what a way to close out Cloud Nirvana Columbus. So thank you to each of our panelists, Jay, Justin, Nate, Tushar, Neil and John, and Ray, for your honesty, insight, and courage to share what's really happening in this AI-powered evolution of software. So if you've enjoyed this conversation, please subscribe to Silicon Heartland Sessions wherever you listen to podcasts. We've got dozens more interviews coming your way with innovators, executives, and founders across the Midwest who are building the future right now. So until next time, lead with courage, build with curiosity, and never stop learning. Thanks, Columbus.